The Caussade Cyclo-Club's Road to Hell. I've done a lot of silly feats over the years. Cycling from Birmingham to Bristol half drunk in the dark was one. But my third outing with the Caussade Cyclo Club last Sunday was possibly the hardest physical thing I've ever done. I asked the guys halfway around when we were stopping, for a biscuit or a chocolate bar or a piss. They looked at me as though I'd asked them for oral sex. On est le groupe pour la grande vitesse, Michel, the leader, reminded me. The TGV. We don't stop, he said in English. If you want to rest, go with the girls. I wished I had. 55 kilometres to go and I was totally wrecked. My legs felt they'd been skewered and grilled on a barbecue. True, we just climbed 500 metres in less than 25 minutes, but I was definitely feeling it today. More so than on the two other outings with them. I'd seen a nice roadside restaurant in the Café of Milliers just before the climb and wondered why we couldn't stop and take 5 minutes. Or even an hour, accompanied by a couple of pichets of vin rouge or a few plates of steak frites, Cycle back to Caussade in style, tanked up in the local Malbec. I mean, why not? It's not as if there's any traffic, and as for police, what police? It'd certainly take the pain away from my legs. I remember French cyclist Jacques Antitel's famous quote from the 60s when asked about doping. Only a fool would imagine that it was possible to ride from Bordeaux to Paris in a day on just water. He had a point. Unfortunately, I only had water and a couple of cereal bars, which I had en route as we sailed on down the other side of the hill we just climbed and on through the vineyards of Gaillac. It's pretty nice. And by the time we got down to the river, my legs did feel better again. We did a nice 30 kilometres along the D964 towards the famous hilltop village of Buniquel, when the real pain kicked in, about 20 k's from Caussade. The guys were on their final push now, salivating at the mouth as they thought of their Sunday meal. Either that or they were terrified of getting a whipping from their wives if they were back late. It's probably a bit of both, the speed they were going at, laying down a fierce 40 kilometres per hour pace through the scenic Aveyron Gorge as they were approaching the Champs-Élysées on the last day of the tour. I was keeping up, just. I'd watched the Tour de France on telly since I was a kid, and until now I'd never realised how important the group, or peloton, was. The difference is incredible. Got adrift even for a few seconds, especially in a strong wind, and you're pedalling backwards. Like cycling uphill in a wind tunnel on a road covered in grit. Hard. And when you're tucked away in the middle, it's like cycling on a tandem on a summer's day on a pancake flat road. It's quite amazing. Michel had told me at the beginning of the day to keep in the peloton, save energy. Even if you have to work hard to get there, it's worth it. Otherwise, you're cut loose. And today is going to be hard. I said I'd try, and now I was trying, but every time I caught up with them, they seemed to speed up as they were playing a trick on me. They weren't. I suspected they were just hungry. By the time we reached Montrecu, 10 kilometres out from Caussade, I'd find some energy from somewhere, probably the massive pork belly I'd eaten the night before, and finally took up in the front position of the peloton. Actually doing some work now, Anglais, Michel joked with me as I passed him. I smiled and thought of offering him a sprint-out finish to the end. I decided not to. The guy was 61 and had been cycling all his life and would mince me in a sprint. Plus, I didn't want to overdo it. I'd done well. I'd done over 150 kilometres in 4 hours over hilly terrain. I didn't want to ruin it at the end, trying to be some dumb-ass English superhero by giving myself a heart attack. After Montrecu, we gently ambled back to Caussade, and as always, everybody disappeared as soon as they arrived for their gigantic Sunday nosher. Not even discussion on the day's ride or plans for next week. Everyone just left, leaving me in the car park, rubbing my bruised legs, wondering what the point of it all was.